Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining, and welcome to the second in our three-part webinar series on how brands can connect with fans in the third space. For this deep dive into gaming marketing in the third space, I am joined by gaming entrepreneur Kieran Holmes Darby. Kieran, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Looking forward to this. I guess obviously there's a ton of stuff that we're going to be talking about. Load of interesting things kind of happening in the space. But before we get into all of that, not that what I'm about to ask now isn't interesting, but for all of our viewers and listeners, could you just give us a bit of kind of your background and journey today?
Yeah, I suppose, where do I start? How far do I go back here? So,
it all.
I suppose my journey starts as coming down to London to start my career as a lawyer. That is
Wow.
actually where the journey truly starts. But I suppose what I'm best known for is my work in the gaming space. So when I came down to be a lawyer, I was also had a side hustle, which was starting wasn't necessarily the UK's first esports team, but I think it was kind of the first esports team that went professional, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So I started that with my brother, XL Esports, and that was a side hustle for a long time, doing it on a voluntary basis just because it was something I was super passionate about.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got to the point where it was, okay, I either do my training contracts and become a lawyer or have a go at this business.
Yeah.
And much to my parents' dismay at the time, I went all in on the esports business.
All in on video games.
All in on video
Parents
games.
love it when you choose video games over law.
Yeah, I'm 4 years of studying, guys, but let's leave that alone because I'm going into gaming, which was an interesting decision at the time, but best decision I ever made. I'd have made a terrible lawyer. My attention to detail is not great, as you will well know.
Well, neither is mine, so we're in good company here.
So yeah, no, I made a great decision to go and do the business with my brother, and yeah, it was pretty damn successful, if I do say so myself. We raised a lot of money, got to a serious valuation, and built the UK's kind of inaugural professional esports team. It was I suppose a crazy entrepreneurial journey where I was completely learning on the job.
Yeah.
It was essentially my first job, which is kind of crazy, and ended up very quickly sort of being CEO of like a 30-person company, which is mad when I think about it now.
Yeah.
At the age of like 23. So that's quite bonkers, but you learn quickly in that scenario.
Can you maybe describe for everybody like what kind of sat under that? Like what did that kind of team look like?
Yeah, so the best way I describe an esports team to someone is imagine a Formula One team.
Mm-hmm.
The business model is exactly the same, just take out the car and the driver and put in a gamer and their equipment.
Brilliant.
So business model is exactly the same. You are traveling the world, competing in events, trying to win those events, and you're, getting sponsored by loads of tech gaming companies. Generally, the endemic brands were kind of the only ones that were into it at that point.
When you say at that point as well, maybe what kind of when was this?
Oh, when is this? I suppose it kind of really took off around 2018, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd been doing it for about 4 years prior to that.
Yeah.
But I suppose it really sort of started to hit the somewhat mainstream in 2018, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I feel like esports became part of, kind of wider language around that point. It kind of like tipped over into wider culture kind of a little bit around then.
Yeah, and you started seeing people like, Jaden Ashman, who won £1 million quid playing Fortnite at the, I think it was at MSG, or is in New York somewhere, I can't remember. But and we actually signed him, by the way. So
oh, wow.
he actually signed to my team. So he was like the most famous UK esports player at that point, so it made sense that he needed to sign for us. So we signed him at that point. But I suppose about 2018 is when it really started to take off. And as I say, the business model was, I was much more on sort of the commercial side of it, and my brother was much more on the ops side of it. So I was talking to brands every day, teaching them about what on earth is esports, what is this thing that we're doing, getting them excited about it, and then trying to get them to sponsor the team.
Before we go on in your journey, because it's fascinating, where did what sparked the creation of it? You kind of said it was kind of a side hustle passion. Like, what sparked creating an esports team versus there's loads of places, I guess, kind of you could go in esports and gaming, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, the truth of it is I played a lot of video games and found out that I'm a very competitive person, right? Whether it's sports or gaming. And I found out you could compete at video games. So me and my brother we would go and compete in these online tournaments. We'd build teams, and we realized we were really bad. Like, I thought I was good because compared to like people I knew or like people at my school or my university, everyone was like, Kieran is sick at Call of Duty. You know, he's so good at this game. When you go into the wider sphere, I was terrible at this game, right? It's a bit like being really good in a five-a-side league and then try and play against Messi and being like, oh, well, I'm terrible at football. So quick realization, I was never going to be a professional esports player. But there were some people out there who were really bloody good at playing video games. And so I was like, well, why don't we just hire them?
We can win these tournaments as long as our hands aren't on the controllers.
Exactly that. So me and my brother were like, well, look, my brother was a management consultant at KPMG. I was studying to be a lawyer. We had pretty like, I suppose, traditional educations and upbringings. And, you know, we felt like, you know, we're pretty smart. I think we can give a go at this. You know, I think we wrote, we were looking at like what, I think we said we wanted to be like the Man United of esports, which as a Tottenham fan really hurts. But you know what Man United did? You know, they built this UK brand that now isn't really a UK brand. It's a, you know, it's a global brand. We were like, why don't we just do that in esports?
And when you wrote it, Man United were one of the best teams in the world.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, unfortunately they fell off a bit. But it was sort of that was the vibe we wanted to create, was like this UK brand that went global, and like we went all over the world, but we still wanted to be like that UK brand. So truth of it is we just hired the best players we could find, and I suppose as you get more money you can afford better players, you can afford better perks, and it kind of went from there.
What game franchises was that across that you had players or teams in?
We started in the, I would say, UK centric games, so like Call of Duty, FIFA, or EAFC now, games like that, but quickly started to be involved in sort of more, I suppose, broader, like Asian, most popular in like Asian countries, like League of Legends and things like that. We had, to be honest, over the course of the years, we had a team in probably every esport that there was at some point. So it's a bit like the Barcelona model, where they don't just have a football team, they have a netball team, they have a basketball team. Like we had teams in kind of every esport that we could financially cover. Right.
And where did that journey go there, and from there kind of
I suppose the hockey stick moment for us was entry into the first kind of franchised esports league. So esports realized quite quickly that the players were getting paid quite well, and the publishers, the games publishers who make the games, they held all the keys, right? They own the IP, they run everything, and the end players were getting like good prize money from the tournaments. But the teams, it wasn't a particularly sustainable business model, because they were just sort of it was kind of eat what you kill, you know, find a sponsor and hope you can pay the players some money to get some better, some better players. It wasn't very sustainable. So Riot Games, who make League of Legends, created the first kind of franchised esports league, which had a league revenue pool, trying to get media rights, share that with the teams, trying to create like a more sustainable model, giving you also, because the thing is, like, when you were running an esports team in those days, you didn't know whether an event was popping up in 3 months' time. So your business model was like, well, we think there's going to be stuff going on this year and we want to be present at it. And you're trying to pitch to brands. They're like, so what are you doing this year? I'm like, not a clue. Not a clue.
There might be a World Cup.
there might be something really cool. There might be nothing. So it was kind of like so reactive that you couldn't really plan and you couldn't sell long-term sponsorship. So they created this franchise league. And they put up a big buy-in. It was 10 million quid to get involved. And me and Joel, we never raised money in our lives. We were like just operating based on the revenue that we were generating from sponsors. Yeah. We're like, how does one raise money? how does one get money to do this sort of thing? So anyway, we like delved ourselves into the venture capitalist world and trying to find out how people raise money, and telling people about this really cool franchise league. And ultimately were successful in getting the money and getting into the league, which was really difficult to actually get in, because every esports team in the world wanted to be a part of
Yeah,
these
yeah.
leagues,
All
right?
kind of having the same challenges and seeing the same opportunity. And
Exactly. But obviously we had this cornerstone of we're the UK brand and no one else could do that. And they needed, we were going to the European side of the league and they needed a UK representative realistically in the European side. So we like really hunkered down on that. And I think that was kind of why we got in.
Class. And then from there, kind of where did the team and your journey kind of go from there?
So from there, competing in different esports with this League of Legends European Championship being kind of the cornerstone of what we were doing.
Yeah.
Competed sometimes well, sometimes badly, and I think esports as an industry tried to commercialize very quickly.
Yeah.
It tried to give investors their money back. It tried to, I think, over commercialize in realistically what was a hyper growth industry.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of very serious people involved very quickly who wanted to see returns, and it just wasn't mature enough to do that. It needed growth mindsets, not what can I get out of this mindset at that stage. So my investors plopped a lot of people on my head. Ultimately, again, I was a young CEO, really was learning on the job, and they were thinking, is this the best use of our 15 million quid? This guy running it. What at that point, what I needed was people around me who were supporting me, mentoring me, coaching me. But ultimately, me and my brother, we knew the industry better than anyone.
Yeah.
So you can bring in people from sports, you can bring in people from other industries, but they're ultimately learning from us as much as we're learning from them.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really understood that. So I was put in a position where people were plopped on my head. I was didn't have the same decision-making power as I used to. And it became a very frustrating place to be, watching your baby go in a direction that you didn't have that much control over.
Yeah.
So I suppose, long story short, decided to kind of part ways. I still have shares in the company, and it's gone through lots of iterations since I haven't had my hands on it. It's actually merged with the Spanish organization now. It's called Giant X. I don't really have any day-to-day involvement in it. But yeah, I kind of watch it from afar and praying that they make good decisions to some extent.
And then where's your career? Yeah, because obviously you've done a ton of big things since then. Where did you go from there on?
Yeah, then I decided to get a proper job. So I went and worked at Formula E. I saw what was a growing sport. It needed a different lens to traditional sports. It wanted this kind of digital first, gaming centric lens put to the sport, and I was like, that's quite a cool project to get involved with. So went over there, did that for 2 years, had an amazing time, traveled the world, met some amazing people, was part of a crazy kind of scale up, fast paced business, learned a lot. I say being in a proper job, but maybe realized that I still need that entrepreneurial element to what I'm doing in order to be fully satisfied. So then I came up with the idea that what I was doing, mainly what I was doing with the esports team, is plugging the gap between brands and esports or gaming as an industry, and helping them create effective campaigns or whatever it was. And I realized that's quite a niche skill set. Like, not many people know gaming and can speak to brands. So I was like, well, I'm going to set up my own agency in that space. But our friend Rich Adelsberg convinced me that I know nothing about running an agency. So why don't I just come do that for him instead, and you guys at Ear to the Ground? And I was like, do you know what? That's probably a more sensible idea. So joined you guys to essentially set up a gaming practice, right? To double down on the work that you guys were already doing in gaming, and build out more gaming work.
Yeah, exactly. And here we are today. I guess, if I could just ask a couple of it's a fascinating journey, and I guess being CEO at 23 of kind of across a team of people, this might seem like a weird question because it sounds like you've kind of mentored yourself, but have there been any individuals or people that you kind of see as great mentors or collaborators over that period of time?
Yeah, I mean, I think mentors come in lots of different shapes and sizes, right? There can be mentors who help you be a better person, and there can be mentors who help you be a more effective operator, right? And I think one of the key mentors in my life was an investor I had early on in Excel.
Yeah.
He very successful businessman, like ex CEO of the Lehman Brothers, like EMEA division before all the financial crash and all that stuff. So like a serious guy, but completely different background and world to me, and his understanding of the business that we were creating was different to my understanding. But what he helped me understand, there were a few big lessons I think that he taught me early on, which really helped. And one was sort of more being a more effective operator, and one was sort of being a better all-rounded person, I suppose. On the operating side, one of the things he said to me was, if you aren't making decisions, you aren't moving anywhere. So he kind of gave me the analogy of, you're going along a road, you've got a turning left and a turning right. You don't actually know which way the left and the right lead, but if you don't take either one, you're just going to stay at that junction. So he was like, rather go left and then need to go right to get back to where you actually need to get to if you make the wrong decision, but make a decision. Like don't rest. And I think especially in a growth business, like you need to be making decisions, you need to be moving forwards and adapt. So that was a great piece of advice. And then another piece of advice he gave was block out some time in your diary every week to take a helicopter view of your life and just go, I'm just going to step back. I'm going to look at what's going on everywhere, whether that's family, whether that's work, and just think, what could I be doing better? Yeah. Okay, I haven't spoken to my dad in 2 weeks. I should probably give him a call. Yeah. Use that hour to give your dad a call. Yeah. And like, just if you do that once a week, you'll be a better all-rounded person.
I love both brilliant bits of advice. That second one, actually, it's only this year I got a similar bit of advice, that helicopter view. It was actually given to me by a coach, and it got me to segment my life up like a pizza pie, but like portions to everything, and like how much are you putting into everything at the moment, and then every week look at it and go, do I need to make one of those slices bigger? And then how do I do that? And to do that every week, and it's completely changed the way I feel about just about everything. It's like an amazing weekly. I mean, I say weekly, I probably wouldn't do it every 2 weeks, but it's still like...
No, I could definitely be better at it. It's good to have it. If you're at least cognizant of it, then it's good.
Exactly. It's like a great guide. And I guess, I'm fascinated to know what your answer would be to this, because again, it's like some really interesting things there. Have you had any like, what's like the big pinch me moment career-wise through all of that? Like the moments where you kind of pause and go, fucking...
I think I would go back to... I mean, there was a bit of a pinch me moment when we actually, when the business raised,
I can imagine.
It's a lot of money. Like to think like at that age as well, like I couldn't even picture what that level of money looks like, or like how that is even possible. But I think the real pinch me moment was once we got into this competitive esports league and we won our first match on our opening weekend. Like me and my brother like stormed the stage, hugging our players. Like, how on earth are we here? How did we do this? Like, amazing. You got hundreds of thousands of people watching that live stream, and our brand is on it and is winning a game. It's just like that for me was, I think, the first real pinch me moment that we'd done something pretty cool.
Absolutely love that. And I mean, I've got a ton of questions I want to ask you about all that, but it would be remiss of me not to ask about your recent appearance. How recent are we talking? Summer appearance on the infamous show Love Is Blind. And being I'm not sure, is it it's not you're definitely not a contestant. I'm not even sure. Guest. I don't even know what cast member. I was struggling to find a cast member on that. Like, talk us through that. Talk us through how that came about and that experience and the impact of that.
Yeah, I find it funny now introducing myself as a TV personality. But I suppose that's true.
Definitely.
I got approached random Instagram DM from a casting producer who was like, you'd be great on this new show that I've got, and I thought it was just like a hoax message. I was like, so I wasn't big on Instagram or anything, right? So I was like, what's this? checked it out, and it was legit. It was casting for Netflix's Love Is Blind UK season 2, and I was like, I'm not sure about that. Like, I'm not sure that's something I want to do. Looked into it, watched a few episodes, was like, this is actually a really nice show. This is actually, it's a serious show, which is more serious than maybe I thought it was, but it's actually like a nice show. The concept of the experiment where you put your phone away, put your devices away, date with intention through a wall, and potentially find someone. I thought, yeah, it's pretty cool, you know, leaving the whole looks thing in our culture today. It's all about apps and swiping.
Yeah.
What do they look like? You know, it's get rid of all that and do it the other way around. It's a pretty cool concept in general. So I was like, I spoke to like my mum about it. My mum was like, I think it's amazing. She was like, I think it's really cool. They were so supportive of me giving it a go. I mean, I also, before I went on there, I told them there's absolutely zero way I get married on this show. I was like, obviously I'm not going to find the one on a TV show.
Excuse me.
So yeah, I mean, I was very wrong, obviously.
Yeah.
I met the wonderful Megan,
yes,
who is my wife. But yeah, what an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Like, I actually loved every minute of it. Just because, I mean, obviously I was very lucky that I met Megan on the show. I think if I hadn't done that.
Spoiler alert to anyone who's not seen it. Sorry.
It's been out for 3 months. Come on. You've got to have seen it by now. But yeah, I think I'm just very lucky that she was on the show, because I think I would have had a very different experience had she not been. And some people do have different experiences on the show. Yeah. But I honestly loved every minute of it. And I suppose the fallout of that, because that was filmed over a year ago, but obviously it's only come out 3 months ago. So
crazy. The
fallout of it has only been felt recently.
Yeah.
That is, my life has changed drastically in the last 3 months. Very strange.
I can only imagine. I do have a ton of questions. I'll try and limit
some of it's probably not relevant.
I know, exactly.
Podcast,
I guess something I know that you obviously on Radio 1 and TV shows and podcasts and talk about the experience and the experiment and the relationship. So it's, I guess, something that I don't know if you've spoken about is, and I'm interested, obviously, as a colleague.
Yeah.
How much did the fact that you've got a job and clients and prospect, how much does that outside world element play in your brain when you're in something like that?
When you're doing the film?
Yeah, when you're filming. How much is all of that in there, or does that just go out?
It was in my brain loads prior to going on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of largely all I thought about, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like, because I didn't think it was realistic that I was going to find the one. I was like, it's a cool experiment, and hopefully I learn something from it.
Yeah.
But I suppose the worst case scenario is I make an absolute fool of myself and I ruin my career, which I'm pretty proud of. So I was like, that was massively in my mind before, but I'd got myself into a headspace which was, look, if I just know that I'm being 100% myself, then, and I'm not trying to be something or like cover things up, or I'm just being myself, then what will be will be. It's like, if people don't like me for that, or if I get found out for something through my job, it's like, well, that is me. Whether you like it or not, that is me on that screen. And I think the best thing I hear from other people that really know me is like, I felt like I was watching Kieran. That's
what I was gonna say. Is it was obviously surreal experience for me watching the show with you. I was like, really, I mean, not as surreal as it was for you probably, but it was very surreal watching you on. But at the same time, it was like really comforting, because it was Kieran. And you were just like, obviously being yourself, came across brilliantly, but it was because you were being yourself.
That's my favorite comment, to be honest, to hear, because like, that was all I was telling myself every day I was going into the thing, for the experiment's sake as well, right? Like, to meet someone, as well as how you're coming across. The only thing you can control is you. So I was like, just be myself, 100% myself. Don't get like, because you get produced a bit on the show, right? Like, you get told like, oh, you could talk about this, or you could go speak to this person, or this sort of stuff. And I was like, what do I want to do? Like, what would I do in this situation every time? And I just kept coming back to that. What would Kieran do? What would Kieran do? And I just did that.
Great. And I guess like you talk about life, like it kind of almost like coming, like the impact of it, or the impact of it being felt maybe more keenly now, because obviously the show's out and people are already been on it. How's that impacted, I guess, like like how has that impacted maybe your thoughts on work, or in fact maybe let me reframe it.
Yeah.
Like your social following has absolutely exploded. You gone from like I don't know what, like 1,000 followers to 120, 30, I don't know, like
something like that,
hundreds of thousands of followers. Like how has that maybe shaped the way you think about, has it shaped the way you think about content, or you think about personal brand, or like what are kind of maybe the things that have come up from that perspective?
Yeah, it's interesting. I get a lot more LinkedIn requests than I used to. Inbounds. I used to be chasing other people. Now they're inviting me to be their friends on LinkedIn or connections.
Yeah.
How has it changed? I mean, I think I have worked the other side of the ball for a while since being agency side, which is like commercializing content and building branded content for brands, and sort of utilizing influencers as assets, I suppose, in your marketing campaign. Not a nice way to look at people, but is how it is, right? They're assets. And now I see it from a completely different perspective. Now I'm in that boat, and I think generally people are starting to cotton on to the fact that influencers should not be used, or content creators should not be used as just performance marketing assets, right? They shouldn't just be used as media channels. And now I understand that even more, because we are people. We are people. And people can influence people. That's the whole point of influencers, right? Exactly. It's not about driving clicks. It's about changing perceptions, building brands, not baskets. Like that, I love all of that. And I don't think I really understood it until I was in those shoes. Yeah,
and I guess like you have started there have been like brand partnerships, so to speak. Like I'm not, I actually don't know the extent of them, but you're definitely involved in kind of brand moments. What has that been like, being on the receiving end of kind of those versus like acquiring talent for campaigns? What's that been like?
I don't know if I'm a good content creator to work with or an annoying content creator to work with, because like when brands come to me and want to create content, like I understand it from their perspective more than potentially most content creators would. So I can push back a bit more and say, well, actually, if you did like this, you'd be more an effective campaign. And they're like, who's this guy? We've got an agency, we've got agencies, we've got creative directors. We don't need this guy giving us feedback on how our do you know what I mean? So I've got a slightly different perspective on it, but I think it hopefully makes me more well-rounded, both as a content creator and at work when I'm working with brands, not for my own campaigns, but for other campaigns.
I mean, I guess it's, in fact, just before we kind of started recording here, didn't we? We were talking about the benefits of experience when you've been agency side and brand side. And I guess it's like, it's another side to that whole mix of having been able to be agency side, brand side, and talent side. Then you start to like really get that Venn diagram of what good looks like for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about like the holy trinity of working agency side, brand side, and rights holder side, right? So and if you've done kind of those three things, I suppose I've done agency and rights holder, but then I built a brand, so I sort of kind of covered the three. No one talks about the holy quadrant of also being a content creator.
The diagram doesn't look as nice, does it?
So I suppose now I've got all four corners of it, which is quite nice, because it means now when I look at marketing campaigns, I have many different perspectives I can take on it, which I think it can only help, really. Like I don't think it can negatively impact the way that you approach your marketing campaign, because ultimately it just gives you more perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can I have one more question. Reference the audience that you've built up. Like, what is your vision for, like, you've built a community? That's a community, and like talking about kind of, I guess, when people are creating content on, as people, it is a community. It is for community and speaking to that group of people. What is your intentions or plans or thoughts around the fact that you've got that now?
So truthfully, still figuring it out. It's a bit early, but we have an idea of kind of, because I mean, you get this following, right? I wouldn't say necessarily it's a community yet. You haven't like fostered it. You haven't like added that much value to it to create a community. You've just got a following because people know you are and they're interested to see what you do next.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's slightly different to content creators that have kind of built their community slowly. Mine was just like, bang, there you go. There's
and you're almost building a community within that group and want to like expand it to as much of that group as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm coming at it from a slightly different perspective. But the thing that I get all the time, that whether it's being stopped in the street or whether it's a message on Instagram, it's like you have refilled my cup up in terms of what I believe is possible from like love and life and all of this sort of stuff. And it's like, what a lovely position to be in, to be like you're like filling people's cups. So me and my wife like really like deep that, and we were like, if our like purpose from that perspective is to build a community where we are giving people like positive insights into how to fill their cups up, how to restore their faith in maybe finding love one day or whatever it is, beautiful. Like, I'm all for that. So we've kind of built on this idea of filling up people's cups, and that's kind of our whole thing, is to build a community of where we help fill up people's cups. That's basically what we're trying to foster.
Love that. Love that. That's class. I'm just gonna like slightly go back on us a bit there, because obviously talk about ear to the ground, setting up kind of and driving the game and practice in the business, and then also I guess sitting within this interesting quadrant that you've kind of defined there, and kind of owned. This kind of webinar series is obviously exploring this idea of the third space and kind of culture and the third space across sports and gaming and entertainment. Sitting across that quadrant, you're going to have an interesting perspective on this. Like from your take, like, why is the third space so important in terms of gaming marketing?
Yeah, that's broad.
It is, yeah. We can get into specifics, but let's go broad.
Yeah. So I suppose broadly, if I was to narrow it down to kind of one thing, is what I'm seeing a lot of is I expected to have seen more campaigns in gaming come to fruition by now, right? Because gaming has not been this underground thing. I feel like people know it's a big space to market in. People know it's where young people are spending their time now, and I'm surprised that I haven't seen more campaigns come to fruition. And I think the reason that I've dissected is that most brands have ticked the box of gaming by going to their media agencies who say, "Oh yeah, no, we can do gaming. We'll put 5% of the budget towards gaming, so you can, don't worry, we've got gaming covered." So the brands go, "Okay, cool, we're doing gaming marketing." But that 5% of media spend is going into the first space, which is not getting a lot of cut through with the audience they're actually trying to reach. So whether it's like TV ads or sponsorships or of like an event or something, or even if it's going into like the second space and doing like on-pack promotions or something, it's not really getting the level of cut through that you would want to see. So for me, in a space like gaming, where the content creators are oftentimes streaming every single day for 8 hours a day to their audience they're trying to speak to, so why would you not use them in your campaigns? Like, they have got to be the focal point of your campaign, not just well, we're going to create this on-pack thing and then we're going to send it to some influencers and hope they talk about it on stream. It's like, no, build the campaign with the content creators, make it creator-led, and you'll have a much more effective campaign. So I think that, for me, if I was to try and explain it as quickly as possible, the third space, that's why it's so important in gaming.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels like, because I think very often as well, I was about to do it, I'm going to do it anyway, but a lot of time people will compare their approach to entering gaming to the approach to entering sport. And it just isn't. Like the landscape is just fragmented, is maybe the wrong word, but it's established and set up, and fragmented in a way that isn't replicated in sport. You've got to find different entry points and rethink your approach to it. Like, you cannot think of gaming streamers in the same way that you put a bracket around football streamers, or people who do watch alongs in football. It is not the same.
No. And I benefited from that because I ran an esports team,
right?
And it was so easy to say, "We know how you sponsor that football team, sponsor us, and then you've got gaming covered.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was an easy sell.
Yeah.
But it cut out a whole level of like strategy, and I felt like at times, not that I was necessarily selling smoke and mirrors, because I did feel like there was value, and there is still value in sponsoring esports teams. I'm not saying there's no value,
Especially Giant X,
especially my team, or Los Ratones, which is another team I'm involved with now. So definitely good to sponsor them. No, but there is value in sponsoring esports teams, but you're missing out a lot of steps if you're going, well, I sponsor a sports team, so I'm going to sponsor an esports team, and that's me covered.
Yeah.
Because what game are you looking at? Like, what demographic are you trying to reach? If it's an esports title, it's a lot of the way I say it, all esports are games, but not all games are esports, is the easiest way to describe it, right? So there are some huge games out there with loads of value from a marketing perspective that don't have an esports scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I benefited from that from a long time of trying to like, oh, well, this is just another thing like sports, but for younger people.
Yeah.
So much more to it than that. Esports is a very small subsector of a very big gaming industry.
Exactly. And I mean, we're obviously leaning into a little bit here on talking about non-endemic brands entering into the space, and I want to make sure that we cover both what's happening from an endemic and non-endemic perspective. I guess maybe just like building on that, like where have you maybe seen like best practice or like challenges in the way that non-endemic brands have been approaching the space?
I think best practices from a non-endemic brand perspective is, when looking at gaming, you don't need to overcomplicate your approach. It's another passion point. It's like sport or music. If you were going into sport or music, you would do your research before going in. You would talk to the fans. You would talk to communities before entering. Just do that. Like, don't just dive in. Like, do your research. Like, speak to people that know what they're talking about. Speak to the fans who you're trying to reach. Build a strategy that makes sense. I.e., what game, what demographic, what assets should you be looking at partnering with, and build a strategy before then building a creative campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like doing that to understand where you're going to get the right audience and get your brand placed in front of the right audience and reach the right audience and make sure that you're kind of getting salience there, but also that you're tapping into a real role for the brand by really understanding what the community cares about or the problems they've got and solving the right things, like tapping into real things that are happening in the community.
100%. And I know we've spoken about this at length previously, and it's not necessarily, you don't have to fix a huge problem that they're experiencing. It's like, just add value to them, like enrich their life. If you can fix a problem, brilliant. If your brand is capable of coming in and fix a problem, great. It might not be. It might be that you're just enriching their lives in some way or adding value to them, and that can be effective too. Yeah,
exactly. And I think then this is something else that I know we've spoken about a lot and really want to get your take on, but it feels like and you've called this out, it feels like there's been a lot of non-endemic brands in the space that have won awards from a creativity perspective. When you step back, I don't think there's a lot of brands winning awards from an effectiveness perspective in gaming, and there's a big reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I see a lot of, and I feel bad calling out one example because I see lots of them, but it's one that springs to mind. Is we saw a campaign that won a lot of creativity awards, and I think it's because it's agency people talking to agency people who don't understand the space, and it seems like a really creative idea. And the idea that I'm referring to was Doritos did a campaign in gaming. Now, Doritos is a brilliant brand to be involved in gaming, right?
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
see so many like avenues for them to get involved with gaming. They're already probably adding a lot of value to gamers' lives as from a snacking perspective. But they created this campaign called Silent AI, which was essentially, they created an app that you could download on your PC. And when you launched it, every time you ate a Doritos crisp into your mic, so if I was eating Doritos crisps here, it would silence the crunch sound. And it's like, it's clever. I understand what you're doing. Like I get it, but the one question I want to ask is how many people download the app? Because I can assure you it's no one. Because who needs that? You just mute your mic. There's mute buttons on every mic. You mute your mic when you're eating your crisps. You unmute it when you want to talk. Like it's very, very simple. Like there are already ways to this. So basically, for gamers, it was a fun campaign. It was creative. I can see why it won creativity awards.
Yeah.
But effectiveness wise, it reached no one. It added value to no one, and it's like, yeah, we got to do better.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about getting in and finding those micro behaviors. I mean, one of my favorite things that, and this isn't like just to plug fan intelligence, which I know everyone gets bored of me talking about all the time, but one of my favorite things that we saw from a game perspective recently on fan intelligence, Simon and the team led a study where we were asking gamers about their eating and drinking habits when they were gaming. You know this, but for the audience, asking gamers about their eating and drinking habits when they were gaming, and they told us some relatively interesting things. But then we asked them to record themselves eating and drinking when they were gaming, and quickly uncovered that across whether they were playing games like EAFC or whether they were playing Call of Duty, whenever they scored or got a kill or performing well, basically they would more likely to have a sugary drink, and when they got killed or they conceded a goal or they lost, they were more likely to eat.
Yeah.
And that's not even something people are consciously aware of, and because they couldn't explain it to us, but it was a fascinating little behavioral insight of like, that's something interesting to build off and do fun things with, because it was something that we observed of what they were doing in their environment at home and got them to record themselves like that.
Yeah, there were so many cool insights we got from that. Like there was also like people would, if they were like eating Pringles, like no one in between game wants to like put their hand in like the sticky Pringles jar and then put it back on their keyboard, right? So they would pour some Pringles out onto the lid and like have them sat there ready so that they can just grab. I was like, that's really cool. There's a campaign in that.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah, we got like, some cool insights.
The ways that they were placing food and drink around. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's that kind of level of like understanding and being able to see how people really, kind of really engage with the space that's really important. And I think it's like that's kind of what we definitely need more of. I guess what I'd like to maybe like flip on there is like, they're interesting. They're very kind of hyper specific behaviors that we pulled out from that work. Are there any other big changes in kind of fan behavior or gamer behavior that you think are kind of impacting the space that brands should be thinking about?
I suppose this is like, this is super relevant to endemic brands. More so relevant to games publishers who are creating games. Yeah. But you can see how brands could buy into this fan behavior. But one thing I've noticed is, we used to have loads of big game expos where people would like launch their new games, and you'd get like the guy standing on stage in his turtleneck and talking about, you know, the new game that's coming out and all the new features or whatever, and everyone get really hyped, and there'd be a big live stream about it. Yeah. And then there would be like a midnight launch and queues, and there'd be all these like out of home activations and billboards, and, you know, down to your local game store at midnight to get the new game. All really cool, by the way, back in the day, but not that behavior is not really there anymore. Like a lot of expos have died. There's no midnight going down to your local store anymore. You just download it onto your hardware. So that bit has kind of died a death. That fan behavior has kind of died, and what we're seeing now is content creators are getting access to games early, playing them early, whether it's live on stream or creating content around the games, pushing out to their audience. And that's the way publishers are getting people to buy the new games, is because they're seeing their favorite creators playing it, and they're going, well, they're having fun, I should buy it and also have fun. So it's completely changed the way game launches work. And it's almost like, as we said, it's almost third space game launches as opposed to first space game launches, which is really interesting. Yeah, I mean, it causes a massive, that kind of behavioral shift causes a massive shift in the way games are coming to market, and then that obviously then changes the whole way that the market works, because the point of influence of the game is being placed kind of, I guess, in the third space initially. Exactly, which is a fascinating change. And then I guess we're kind of touching a bit on working with kind of talented creators there. And you've obviously got amazing experience on that. What would be like your big kind of learnings or watch outs for endemic or non-endemic brands looking to work with kind of talented creators in the space? I think there is a lot of. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying around strategy, because I think there's a lot of crossover content creators now they're not really gaming creators anymore. They're almost so mainstream, and they've built up such an audience that they cover so much. And I feel like there is the same pool of content creators that are being used for every single game launch, and I'm seeing it a lot. And therefore they're also being used for every single brand campaign. And it's like that pool of very large influencers who cost a lot of money actually start to become less effective in their campaigns, because everyone is seeing everything that they're doing. And it's like, well, he's just doing another brand campaign, he's just doing another game launch, and like it doesn't mean anything to them, and I feel like it becomes very stale very quickly. So I think going back to doing your homework on like what creators would be the most beneficial, as opposed to using the same talent agencies that everyone's using and pumping out the same creators every time. Like, ask your community, like who do you watch, like, you know, who's your favorite creators, and start to build campaigns around that, as opposed to just using the same people that everyone else is using.
Exactly. And you know, like, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy then when brands are backing the same creators. They continue to get bigger when actually there's, like you say, there's a wealth of other kind of talent out there who, if backed, would support their growth, but it would also take the brand, I guess, like closer to the kind of community in kind of more interesting ways. And
we see it so much in gaming particularly. Like, I feel like gamers are very aware of when they're being sold to. And I think, you know, just maybe they're just very high IQ individuals. I don't know. But they're very aware, maybe more so than the general public, that they're being sold to. But they don't mind if they're being sold to, if you're adding value to someone. In fact, they love when you're supporting their favorite creator. Like, the creator's quite open about the fact that I'm being paid by X brand to do this campaign. Like, people like that. They're like, oh, thank you for supporting my favorite creator. It's a bit of a weird concept. I think authenticity is so key. Like, just be open about the fact that you're doing a campaign with this creator because you want to support them, and you'll get so much more value than trying to hide behind that. It's
like back to like the very, very original idea of what a sponsorship is that you're sponsoring that person to be able to do their craft, you know, and be able to like bring you things for what they're doing or for their audience. Like, the foundation idea of sponsorship goes obviously way beyond sport or anything. It was just sponsoring people to go on pilgrimages, like, you're kind of sponsoring someone to be able to do something, and it's that idea of like, you're backing the creator to create great stuff for their audience.
And you lose that if you go for the absolute biggest creators who are already multi-millionaires who don't need your support. You might see some like big metrics that excite you. You're also paying more, and your effectiveness is probably lower. Whereas if you used a group of smaller creators who would be more grateful of the partnership, because it helps them do what they're doing, probably get a much more effective campaign.
And I mean, and this is something everybody will be sick of me talking about all the time. I know I say it all the time, but when you're working with bigger talent and there's been a number of brands associated with them, trying to get your brand attribution baked into it just takes longer for that to be baked into the audience's brain, because they've got all of the other brands they've worked with historically already associated with that talent, and you're just competing with that versus getting in there early or before anybody else, or at least when there's less brands involved with an individual. It's easier to get that attribution and kind of get that salience.
Exactly that.
I guess, and then maybe the non-creative version of that, I've got to bring this up, of being in early is, and you can see audiences within the space loving it, is DHL. That is like one of the big case in points, isn't it, of like a brand like DHL having its name chanted through an arena.
And we talk about that example a lot, but it's because it's so beautifully simple.
Exactly.
What they did was they took a robot from the game, they recreated the robot, branded it like in person, branded it up with DHL, and just shot sweets into the crowd. It's really bloody simple, but people love it because you're taking something they already love from the game, and you're doing something cool with it. A brilliant example of a similar sort of thing was Ballantine's Whiskey did a version of their whiskey, which was in Borderlands. There's a character called Moxie who actually runs a bar in Borderlands. They sponsored essentially the character of Moxie, created a version of Ballantine's Whiskey that was like Moxie's edition. Class. You could see it on the bar in game behind her. So you actually got some in-game branding. Class. That didn't look like overtly branded.
Yeah.
And then they sold the Moxie's edition like in the real world. And it's these blends of like, both of those examples are what I call phygital examples. So it's blending like the digital and the physical worlds together, having some real world application of something that's also in game. Yeah. It just makes you feel, gamers love like the escapism of games, right? Because it makes you feel part of the game. So to merge those two worlds, your world and the game world, that's where you make really cool campaigns. Yeah,
that is the brand in both instances, letting the audience feel like a closer connection to the game because the game is coming to their space. Like psychologically, it's so powerful.
That. Like some of the coolest things I've done. I mean, I'm a massive nerd, right? Like, I have to be to be excited about what I'm excited about. But like some of the coolest things that I've done in gaming are just going to events where like people are cosplaying as the characters from the game, but like not like serious cosplaying to the point where you're like, you look exactly like the person in the game, and it's like you feel completely immersed in that world, and you're talking to them, and that, you know, they're the voice actors, they're speaking with the voice. It's like, it's just cool, man. It's just bringing the game world to real life. Like, it's just cool.
It is. What are your big game passions? Like, what are the games like from a fan perspective for you?
I mean, when I was working in esports, I would play every single esport that we would enter to a certain extent.
Wow.
Because I needed to be able to talk authentically to the players that I wanted to sign. Like, it's sort of like if you can't speak about their game in a certain level of detail, you won't gain their respect.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I could never be an expert in every single game, but I needed to be at least competent in every single game so that I could be an expert in gaming, right? So like I've played so many games throughout my career, and I try and like pick up on the new trends, and I'm very much I'll play a game for 3 months, drop it for the next new shiny thing. I'm not particularly loyal to a game, but it's because also it keeps me relevant in what I'm talking about. So that's my approach.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I guess that's definitely something we see a lot with you here to the ground as well. It's like anything new that you're kind of working on, become an absolute nerd on getting into the depths of it. I think we've seen it across. NBA is the funniest one. I think I've seen in the last couple of years where there's a couple of us big NBA fans in the office, and then you started working on some NBA stuff, and suddenly we're involved in every chat, every group chat, chucking stats in, chucking box scores in. See it all the time.
Yeah, I've got a bit of an obsessive personality where I feel like if I'm doing something, I want to know about it. So I do my homework, and now I'm a massive NBA fan.
I know, exactly.
I watch all the highlights. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Whenever I wake up and anything's happened NBA wise, you're one of the people I think I'll talk to Kieran about this. Cracking. We've obviously covered a ton of stuff there, and I feel like we could talk for another 2 hours. But cognizant of time, maybe if I could just finish for kind of all our viewers and listeners here today, like, what would you say are like the big opportunities in this space as we look towards 2026?
I feel like any like brand campaigns or anything that is partnering with relevant IP, right? So there's going to be new games come out, or there's going to be new DLC, downloadable content come out for existing games, and that creates IP that is celebrated by the community. If you can partner with relevant IP, but then the kind of really interesting bit here, which people still haven't figured out, but I think will make all of these campaigns so much more interesting, is then partnering that IP that you get hold of with AI. So the reason I say that is because AI has a lot of mixed reviews in the creative industry, including the games industry, because it can take away from what is beautiful about humans creating things. But there is something that AI can do that we haven't been able to do in the gaming world or in the campaigns world, which is generative AI to make everyone's experience unique. I think in gaming this is going to be transformational. You get a game, your experience of that game is going to be completely different to the person next to you. I play a game at the moment called Baldur's Gate 3, which does this to a certain extent, and I tip my hat to the developers because they have clearly created so many strands of this game which allows you to go in so many different directions. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
Obviously generative AI takes that to a whole new level of like the potential possibilities to come from a game. Also from brand campaigns, if you can get hold of an IP, I'll use the example I used earlier of Moxie in Borderlands creating a brand of whiskey that is in game and out of game. If you can get the character of Moxie to then engage with people that are buying the physical whiskey in ways that is, they have a personalized experience with the brand, I just think that sort of stuff's going to be really cool. I don't know how legally it's all going to work. That's not my job. I just know it's going to be bloody cool, whoever pulls it off.
Yeah. I mean, both those things really exciting areas. I think, the impact of generative AI on games it could be phenomenal. I've heard a lot of people talking instances about we're only so far away from being able to log into Netflix and say, I want a show and that it is based on whatever. And I like and they might build you a show. That's interesting. But I think actually from an immersive world perspective and gaming, that's where you can see that being really, really rich and that unique experience being phenomenally interesting.
And you mentioned Netflix as well, like huge, like they're now investing heavily in the games industry because, cloud gaming, right? Like we've talked about it for years. No one's been able to really pull it off, but obviously Netflix probably are a good brand to start with who are going to pull it off. Like, cloud gaming is going to be huge. You'll be able to potentially not need hardware in your house.
Crazy.
To play all the games.
Crazy. Well, Kieran, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, mate.
And thank you, everybody.
I really enjoyed it.
Yes, it's been quality. Thank you, everyone. Kieran's enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. Hope you all have. See you all soon.